I'll never forget the day we found out. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, and I was sitting on the porch when the phone call came. I had no idea it would change everything. My fingers tremble a little even now, just holding this old teacup. The tea's gone cold, but the memories, they're still here, bitter and sweet. You can't pour out the bitterness of betrayal, not even with a cup of tea. You see, I raised my daughter Marissa with everything I had, every penny my husband, Richard, and I saved. Every extra hour we worked, it was all for her. We weren't rich, but we worked like dogs to save for her future. Our big dream was to give her the wedding she deserved. Every girl dreams of that fairy tale day, right? We had been saving for years. $40,000, it was all we could manage, and we were so proud. Every penny of it was meant for Marissa's happiness. But when the truth came crashing down, I was shattered. $40,000 gone. We were in the living room. Richard was flipping through a magazine when the phone rang. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon, the kind of day you'd expect to just relax. I answered it without a second thought. The voice on the other end was one I knew better than my own, but it sounded so strange. Mom, Dad. I have to tell you something. It was Marissa. Her voice was shaky, nervous, like she'd been holding her breath for far too long. I gripped the phone. What is it, darling? Are you okay? And then it came. I eloped. Mom, I'm married. We're in Vegas. My heart just stopped. I felt the blood drain from my face. Marissa, what do you mean? You, eloped. I could hardly get the words out. I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly weak. Richard saw my face and knew something was terribly wrong, but I was too stunned to speak. And then came the final blow. The wedding money. Mom, I used it. We bought a house. I didn't know what to say. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. But the anger inside me, oh, it was a storm brewing. I can still feel it. Even now, so many years later, the memory of that day makes my hands shake. I remember just sitting there, staring at Richard, both of us speechless. How could we speak? After everything we had sacrificed, after all those years of hard work, for a dream that was never even hers. $40,000, gone, spent on a house, not a wedding, not the life we had planned for her. As the call ended, I felt the sting of betrayal deep in my chest. The silence in the house was a heavy weight pressing down on me. It wasn't the money, not really. It was the feeling that family, the one thing I thought was sacred, had been torn apart by a single act of selfishness. Do you know the worst part? It wasn't even that she eloped. The part that twisted the knife was that she had used our savings, the money we'd set aside for her happiness. She used it for her own desires, a house for herself and her new husband. It was like our sacrifice meant nothing. That was the first time I felt completely invisible to her. She hadn't even asked, hadn't thought to speak to us. She just took it. The dream we had for her was gone. It took a while for the shock to wear off. Days passed, and Richard and I barely spoke. He kept saying, "She's grown up, Margaret. She's her own woman now." But how do you just let go of that? How do you let go when your own flesh and blood has taken everything you worked for? One night, after many sleepless nights, I was standing at the kitchen sink, staring out at the moonlit yard. The stillness was unbearable, and that's when it hit me. No one had the right to do this to us. I had worked my whole life for this family, only to be treated like I meant nothing. I went upstairs, and Richard was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. I climbed in beside him and said, "It's time we made a change." For the next few days, I barely spoke to Marissa. She called, of course, many times. She apologized, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive her. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was heartbroken. And sometimes, silence says more than words ever can. As the weeks of silence stretched on, something began to shift inside me. I wasn't just the mother who had given everything for her child. I was Margaret, and I deserved better. That house, it symbolized everything that was wrong. It was built on lies, on broken promises, on stolen dreams. It was a constant reminder of how she had taken what wasn't hers. But then, I did something unexpected. I called our lawyer. I told him to revise the will. I wasn't going to let her take everything from us, especially not our family home. Richard was against it at first, but I couldn't just let it slide. I couldn't let her think she could just take whatever she wanted and leave us with nothing. We changed the will, and when it was done, I felt lighter, freer, as if I had reclaimed a piece of my soul. I also froze her portion of the savings account, the one she had so easily helped herself to. She wasn't going to have it both ways. Not anymore. When Marissa found out, she was furious. Her texts were angry, desperate. Mom, this isn't fair. She screamed through her messages. You can't do this. I'm your daughter. But I was done with pleading, done with explaining. I had given her everything, and she had taken it all. Now it was time for me to take back what was mine. No, Marissa, I replied, my fingers steady. This is for me now. In the end, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the wedding fund or the house. It was about reclaiming my life, my worth, and my dignity. It was about standing up for myself after years of giving it all away. Marissa and I haven't spoken since that day, but I can live with that now. My life isn't defined by her mistakes. It's defined by the choices I made to put myself first. To those of you who feel like your sacrifices go unappreciated, I say this: don't let the world take everything from you. Don't let anyone treat you like you don't matter. Stand tall. Your story isn't over yet. Thank you for listening to mine. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories.